activities, and comments. So today's an opportunity to introduce everybody else around us. Our physical community is not what the portray us as, and we want to make sure that people know what we really are about. So first we're going to have Issaquah High School senior Lauren Campbell.
Not going to sound very good.
These are the kind of people that I would like to be highlighted when someone thinks of Issaquah. I will be leaving Issaquah in just over 2 months, along with 500 other young adults who will be entering the world with the knowledge and experience that Issaquah gave us. As I look back on my school, I will likely not see these years as the best years of my life. But as I grow older, I hope that we will all be able to remember the great aspects of Issaquah, like moments like this. As I look out to this crowd and I look out to see all the students who have walked out of this school, I remember why I love Issaquah and why I am proud to say that I am from Issaquah High. We are more than a poster. We are more than a tweet. We are the people of Issaquah, and we cannot and will not be defined by the actions of an individual. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome Engu Fantama to speak.
Alright, I just wanted to say thank you guys because I know this weather is like super crap, so thank you for being here. This statement is being made on behalf of a teacher who is not allowed to speak, but I will be reading it for her. I must say that I'm so proud to interact every day with such thoughtful, passionate students. I know that I speak for all of the Issaquah High staff. Thank you. I know that I speak for all the Issaquah High staff when I say that your reflection and positive energy over the last few days has been inspirational. When presented with both the history and current reality of racism in our school community this week, you have been thoughtful and supportive of each other. Many people, many of the adults in your lives, many of your peers are afraid to talk about race. But your response has focused on what matters most. That you are not afraid to talk about challenging topics. That while we condemn hateful rhetoric, what we understand and choose to value, where we choose to put our energy is in unity, education, and positive action. I would like to take a few minutes to talk about where you fit into history. Because make no mistake, you do fit into history. Those of you who know me know that I believe that people need to look to the past to make better decisions for the future. However, sometimes the history books focus on too much on certain people or events and not enough on the momentum of unknown individuals who were just as important. When most people think today about the civil rights movement, they think of Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King Jr. They think of iconic figures. In fact, that is the most common critique of Black Lives Matter, that the movement has not found a strong voice, that charismatic leader. However, I believe that those found a strong voice. I believe that those critiques miss a key fact, that the social change we want to see in our communities most often does not occur by waiting around for a strong leader to emerge. It occurs through empowering people and organizing at a grassroots level. It occurs through the power of the individual. In 1960, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC, was founded by young people who had taken part in the sit-in protest movement in North Carolina. It was the only national civil rights organization led by young people. Fueled by young people's rejection of racism, it was a predominantly black-led, majority black organization, but it did have white members as well, and most importantly, it was made up of... Sorry, I'm trying to peel these pages apart. It was made up of young people like yourselves. SNCC was one of the organizations that was most responsible for propelling the civil rights movement forward. It is most known for its work at the local level, engaging and mobilizing in local communities. The members of SNCC understood, as you do, that when young individuals join together to make positive change in their own communities, that change inspires people of all ages on a much larger scale. They understood something that I hope you will take with you today, that while these conversations and protests are sometimes necessary, they are not sufficient. It is a long, tough job of acting on a daily basis to promote positive and thoughtful action that empowers and transforms communities. I understand that sometimes the bridge between knowing what is right and doing it can be daunting. So let's return to the everyday moments in which you can influence our school culture. The first thing that we must do is listen to people of color. We need to hear their experiences. We need to stop avoiding potentially challenging conversations. You have to take risks to get the community what you want. So, do we agree that students should be able to walk down the hallway without hearing racial or derogatory slurs?
Yes!
Excellent. Then if we overhear someone using one, we must have the courage to speak up against it. Can we agree that racist jokes aren't funny and have no place at IHS?
Yes!
Then we need to challenge people who tell them in the moment. Do we think microaggressions, while sometimes unintentional, can be harmful?
Yes!
Then if we hear one or think we hear one, we must ask the person to clarify what they said and what they meant. These small interactions help form the building blocks of our community. You amazing individuals get to decide what type of community you want to help build. More recently, in another youth movement that will be part of U.S. history, we have seen the power of youth action through the March for Our Lives, originating in Parkland, Florida. These students took a terrible tragedy and the extensive media coverage of it and have created immense change. They directed their narrative for themselves and their school. Right now, you have the opportunity to do the same. You have everything you need to make the most of it. This is your chance for you, the students of Issaquah High, to define Issaquah for yourselves. But you must decide how you want to do it and how you will follow through. What do you want Issaquah High to be? What does your change look like?
So next we have Dylan speaking. She's a senior also.
In my mind, I see a line, and over that line are green fields, lovely flowers, and beautiful white women with their arms stretched out to me. But I can't seem to get over that line. I can't seem to get there no-how. That was Harriet Tubman in the 1850s. And let me remind everyone that it wasn't too long ago that people were hung and silenced because they wanted to spark change in this nation. It was not too long ago that the Little Rock Nine were told that they could not attend an all-white school due to the policy of separate but equal. It was not too long ago that the Jim Crow laws were in full effect and institutional racism engulfed our nation in a smog of separation and segregation. Whether or not we want to accept it, these issues are alive and well in our nation today. These issues have been able to fester over the years and weave their way through our democracy. This is why we see higher incarceration rates for African Americans over any other group, and why violent hate crimes through organizations such as the KKK have increased significantly over the last decade. If we keep ignoring and denying these statistics, events such as Charlottesville will continue to happen. And if we allow these events to continue, we are sending a message to the entire world that we will tolerate racism. This nation has an endlessly deadly history of turning a blind eye to injustice and not upholding the fundamental words, all men are created equal. I am not okay with seeing individuals at this school, in our community, or in our nation feel like they do not have a voice because they are not respected or they do not or are not provided the same opportunity as every individual citizen. It is time to apply those words and live out the full meaning of our nation's creed. It is time to break that silence. To anyone who relies on the argument of it is just a joke, or condones and participates in slurs and stereotypes to lower another individual's value, I only have one thing to say to you. Your time is up. Woo! Our nation has lived too long in the era of allowing minorities to suffer, while the stability of the comfortable majority lives on. We must not stay silent, because by doing so, we are losing the opportunity to inform the uninformed and move towards progress. We cannot fight hate with hate or use violence against violence. But what we can do is use our voice, stand up, and do what so many people have done in the past and not rely on hate and violence. I would like to take a moment to remind everyone of historical figures that have had significant impact on this nation. To Frederick Douglass, who refused to be taken off a business train car and be put in the third-class car just because of his color. To Oliver and Linda Brown, who refused to accept their circumstances and aimed for equal access to education. To Martin Luther King Jr., who refused to be silenced by the jail walls of Birmingham. To Rosa Parks, who made the decision to stay seated on that bus in Montgomery. Justice might not have been possible in the time of Jim Crow, but it's more than possible now. It is time to look back at these individuals and ensure that their dream for this nation, for every citizen, is fulfilled. It is time to speak up and call attention to every incident, whether it's a microaggression said in a hallway or words written on a poster for a high school dance. It is essential to motivate people to be active and use our voices and engage our entire community in difficult conversations. This change that we are seeking in the world will not come from one person or one single event. We must not hesitate in moments of controversy. For change to truly occur, we must unanimously decide to stand up for everyone's unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is time to end this cycle of oppression and discrimination and ensure that every individual, no matter who they are or where they come from, is guaranteed the respect that they deserve. It is time to cross that line. And now Ingrid Sultana, will be delivering her speech.
I'm now speaking on behalf of myself. In 2014, Issaquah High School students made a mistake. Basketball players and other students from our school made racially vulgar comments directed towards an entire race of people because we are afraid of losing a sports game. We apologize and together pledge to fight racism along with Garfield High School. In 2017, a group of senior boys from Issaquah High School known as the Refs tweeted the night before we played Newport High, "Tomorrow we play Beijing Bellevue, #USAOut." On Saturday, March 30th, 2019, an Issaquah High School student wrote on their Tolo Ask poster, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but instead I'd pick you." These kind of racist and ignorant acts are unfortunately repeat offenses at Issaquah High School. It seems as if almost every year something happens that throws us off our feet, and no matter how much work we do to change it, what is always remembered is the bad. As a country, we've struggled for centuries to move past our deeply rooted history with racism and oppression, but it's clear we still have a lot of work to do. Following Saturday's events, students were upset when they first saw the image, and furthermore, they were surprised that the student had the audacity to post it online. But what should be shocking is the lack of action that led her to this point. The education that is taught here can only do so much. A majority of what we know is learned from our friends and our family, what we get from home. But no matter where a student comes from or how they are raised, it is our responsibility as a student body to create an environment that never tolerates hate. I can only imagine the number of times a student must have said something disturbing or disgraceful about a marginalized group, something homophobic or racist, and maybe out of discomfort or fear, the students surrounding her decided to say nothing. This is not an educational problem, this is a social one. This is about how we interact, talk, and walk. It's about how we do and do not hold our peers accountable. We've all been guilty of it, whether it be laughing at a casually racist joke or maybe even making one ourselves, but it is clear that we no longer have the luxury of this ignorance. We no longer have the space or the time at this school to not do something now, so where do we start? It starts with being bold and being open and creating an environment where it is not only safe but expected to do so. This is a call to change the way we combat this issue as a new generation. We cannot change the past, but we are the future, so what will we do? Will you be the passerby that says nothing, the friend who continuously enables, or will you be the part of the change that we so desperately need to see at this school and in this world? On Saturday, March 30th, one of our own attempted to humiliate our school, to bring us shame, to extend the lengths of our racist past, but the student who chose to be involved in that and other issues are of a different era. The students who tweeted and belittled the Asian students at Newport High School are gone. The students who resorted to racism so vile it cannot be shown in the media to attack Garfield High School's basketball players are names that we can no longer remember. Those students didn't do us much good, but what they did leave is Issaquah High School for us to make of it what we want. We cannot and will not repeat the mistakes that we've seen before us because they are irreflective of who we are. There is no doubt that this school has a history, that there is a common story that comes up when you search our name, but the events of Saturday are a signal for us to rewrite that. For us to make a change and tell the rest of this community that this is not us. By some, this event has been called a publicity stunt, and to those students that said that, you're right. The rhetoric and hate perpetuated by that now infamous poster reflect the ideas of one student, but not us all. We know better and are attempting to do better every day, but the people around the country discussing this don't care. Tolo 2019, news, staff, racist. Those are the first 5 suggestions today when you start a Google search with the words Issaquah High School. This is embarrassing, shameful, yet unfair. We as a school have a right to feel this way and complain, but we have to put our money where our mouth is and bite as hard as we bark, act as loudly as we speak, because 5 years down the line, it is events like today's walkout that we want to characterize Issaquah High School's reputation. This is history in the making. We only have 4 years here. Seniors, we have less than 2 months. So start today and make it count.
Alright, so before we get to the last speaker, just want to remind everybody, thank you for coming out, and even though the weather is horrible and it's not raining anymore, but thank you for sticking around. And keep in mind that the purpose of today is to really reflect and realize what we want to be known as. Right? We are Issaquah, not what anybody else in the media or other schools or people from other across the country call we. So we are what? We are Issaquah. So we define who we're known as, and let's start making a change now. So before we end, we have one last speaker, Chenbei. He's a freshman. Over the past weekend, a student from our school and member of our community attempted to disgrace our city with racism and hatred. Our whole lives we were told not to do things like this. We've seen what happens, from admin punishment to social punishment, yet the students still thought this was a good idea. Though the last thing we want is for someone to get hurt, they must face the consequences of their actions. Acts like this are no longer being looked at as just teenage mistakes, especially when the student was on their way to college and a young adult. As a young black man, I understand that many young black men don't have the luxury or privilege of even making it to age 17 due to community violence and police brutality. But the student who committed this act did not take this into account.
She did not stop and think about the effect her actions would have on this city, this region, or this country. But she didn't realize that many young men that look just like me don't even get the chance to stop and think. We, the people of this region, have said enough is enough, and that we will not stand for any injustice. We will not stand in sympathy for those who support children in cages on the border, ignorance of the Flint water crisis and environmental destruction, the neglect of racial equality and civil rights concerns. We, the people of Issaquah, will not stand for hatred and racism. The people of Issaquah stand for respect, inclusion, and love. And today we stand united with pride, even though our tradition usually has been contrary. We know that we are the change, and we are the fight to end insensitive and racist acts like this one that just happened. We are Issaquah, and we are the change. So, in conclusion, in light of what happened today and looking at this turnout and all your support for what has happened, it brings a lot of hope to me as a senior when I leave Issaquah High School, so I know that the future people and students at this school don't condone this behavior. And credit is due to the school and all of you guys for reacting so fast and so promptly to what has happened. However, also it's important to address that some of the actions that students and other members of our community has taken towards this one individual is not acceptable. Posting someone's personal information, threatening her life, and trying to ruin her life forever is not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to move on from what has happened and make sure that we are known as what we want to be and actually strive for change. So let's start making a difference today, guys. Thank you for coming out. So just reverse, we're going to walk back to the school. Walkout's over, guys. Thank you.
I really thought he was going to take that letter.
Hi, I'm Dylan Hepler. You always call it. Hi, I'm Dylan Hepler. D-Y-L-A-N. I'm a senior at Issaquah High School.
At the high school, I wasn't expecting this at all.
You guys at least give one lane for I think it's important to be aware of that and that today we live in a society where we are kind of in a fork in the road where we need society
Hey, Robin.
and what you're going to do to fix and change the problem. No.